What is up, guys? Archon, and I'm here bringing you guys another YouTube video. In today's video I'm going to be discussing mk11. I managed to get into the online stress test, which is pretty cool. I'm also going to talk about how the game feels and flows and kind of just hands-on how the netcode felt, both wired and wireless. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hop into that. So let's go ahead and talk about the netcode and how it felt for the online stress test at least. From what I could tell, both wired and wireless, I really didn't have any lag, and by far this is probably the best fighting game I think I've ever played online. Everything felt smooth. I almost forgot that I wasn't playing against somebody right next to me. Like, that's just how good it was. There was the occasional lag, and you can actually see, like, if you see up on the screen now where it says match accepted or whatever, there was two monitors, and then there was basically your Wi-Fi emblem. You can tell, like, what your opponent is, whether they're direct connect or wireless. I think that's pretty cool. So if you don't want to face people that are wireless because you're scared the connection might be bad, you can always avoid those players and just not play them. But honestly, I wouldn't even bother. It felt smooth, both Wi-Fi and wired. Like I said, there was a couple hiccups, and I don't know what exactly was going on there, because the match was running smooth. Like, I'd get through like a round and a half or maybe 2 rounds, and it seemed like I'd go for a certain combo, and then all of a sudden the game would freak out. So I don't know if it was combo related or if it was just something to do with the netcode maybe. Really weird that it would happen, 2 rounds in, and when I'm going for a certain combo, it could have just been coincidence. Anyway, with the netcode out of the way, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how the game flows. The game itself, like character movement in that, is really slow compared to other Mortal Kombat titles, and it's probably the slowest thing I think I've seen in a fighting game in a minute. I know a lot of people are comparing it to Third Strike in terms of how slow it is and how much of a footsie battle it is. So people who don't have really good footsies are going to struggle, I think, for a little while until they eventually learn how to play footsies properly and space their opponent. And I'm kind of glad that this is a thing, because a lot of these other fighting games right now are just way too rushdown for me. So I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, playing defensively and just, reacting to what my opponent throws out. I think that's always a fun type of style to play. More of the turtle. The other addition is the shield and sword EX moves. Obviously, sword is for your offensive moves like teleport punch or something like that. You can meter burn it for an added effect like you could in the other games. The defensive shield is a new feature, and it allows for you to kind of break pressure if your opponent's pushing you to the corner and they're trying to wake you up with like a certain part of a combo or something and they're already in the middle of it. You can actually just EX roll out using the defensive meter. I'm not exactly sure how, and I'm not sure what all outs it pertains to, because I couldn't figure it out. My opponents were doing it against me though. So it's something I'll have to learn once the actual game comes out and I have time to practice it. Your environmentals are back. You can still use environmental weapons. The other big change is the variation system. It's still there, but they reworked it to where it's a custom variation system. You can kind of pick your own variations and your own special move enhancements. The only thing bad about the system is that eventually it's going to get to a point where people are going to find what the best 2 or 3 options are, and they're just going to equip those options, and the rest of the special moves are kind of going to be wasted, which kind of sucks. So I'm hoping they keep up some maintenance on the balance on those, so it breaks that down pretty fast, so people are constantly swapping. You also have what appears to be a critical hit, or crush counter, I think is what Street Fighter V calls them. Happens during a counter hit attack, and that particular move you can actually combo off of it if they're in the corner, from what I could tell. I actually comboed it into an uppercut and thought that was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure you can probably combo it into a spear and continue it on a combo and deal a bunch of extra damage. I don't think I talked about fatal blows. Fatal blows are pretty much this game's X-rays, and they can only be done once your HP bar reaches the thicker portion of the bar. And they have armor on them, so you can basically use them to, throw opponent off if they try to jump in on you. You can pop it, get your X-ray, get a bunch of damage, but you can only use it once per match. So you have to really think if you want to use it to, save yourself from dying in this particular spot, or do you want to give up the round and use it later on to maybe try to clinch out a third round. So there's a lot more thinking involved with your X-ray rather than just throwing it out because you have full meter, or, you wanted to. So I think that's pretty much all there is on like game flow in that. I'm going to talk about the characters I played next. Before that, I forgot to mention on the EX meter that those meters regenerate on their own outside of the player's control, whereas in the past you used to get meter based on whether or not you took damage or dealt damage. And it's kind of another big change I forgot to mention, so sorry about that. So let's go ahead and talk about Scorpion. His normals are pretty good. They're definitely going to beat people who are newer to the game because he has a lot of high lows in there. And if you block low, you'll get hit with the mid. If you don't block low, you get comboed the whole way. So there's a lot of things to keep an eye out for. So I think he'll be really strong against newer players. He also has a spear and teleport punch like he always does. And these are in every variation. So even if you want to change his special moves up, he'll always have these ones. Teleport punch is highly punishable on block, obviously. Don't get punished. Even EX is punishable on block. If EX punch happens to land, though, you actually can extend a combo by knocking your opponent in the air, and if you happen to have another bar, you can use EX Spear to extend the combo even further. Because Spear has to be EX'd in order to extend combos now. You can't just, spear them like you could in the past, and they're stuck there stunned. If you do a normal Spear, it just basically puts them on the ground. Outside of that, his variations are pretty interesting. He has a Flame Breath, which extends kind of far, and I think it's probably one of the better things that he has for zoning. It doesn't go full screen or anything, but it's like mid-range. It's enough to where if your opponent's just outside of sweep, you'll block them or hit them with it, and it'll put them in block stun or whatever. He can meter burn it to walk into your opponent and deal even more damage. I think put him in a state where you can actually combo off of it. He has a dash, kind of like a command grab, but it's not really a command grab. It just looks like one, where he covers a lot of distance and he picks up your opponent and then puts him on the ground. Deals a bit of damage. He has a fireball, a long range one, which kind of sucks because you have to space it a certain way, and without a practice mode, it's really hard to get the ranges down. Think of it kind of like a Shang Tsung fireball from the ground, where it only hits in certain spots. And then from there, he has like a chain whip, where he pulls out his chain and just kind of twirls it, and it smacks your opponent like 3 or 4 times, dealing a little bit of damage, and it's got quite a bit of range on it, so I think it's kind of another zoning tool for him. But with that, I think that's pretty much it for Scorpion. I mean, you guys are definitely seeing some of the gameplay in the background. I might do a combo video maybe before the beta. Let me know down below if that's what you guys want to see, because I can give you guys the notation for some of the stuff I was pulling off, because it definitely was some decent combos. With that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Scarlet a bit. Scarlet is kind of a weird character to me compared to Scorpion. I think Scorpion's going to be your cookie cutter example for what you can expect, where you're actually going to have to meter burn in order to get your combos. Scarlet, you do not do that. Scarlet, her normals have a launcher in there, and it hits pretty far. Like, it's a whip of blood that comes out. So she can reach you outside of Scorpion's sweep range, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it's a pretty fast sweep, so you can actually like go low, go overhead, but the overhead is kind of slow, so I guess it makes up for that. But if your opponent's kind of slow at blocking and he sees that you're spamming sweep or something and tries to block low, you can actually go overhead scythe on him, and then after the scythe, you're close enough to where you can just do a grab mix-up if you wanted to in there. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with Scarlet. Her normals are pretty strong. She even has a special normal where she breaks a blood spear off in you, and it basically works like the impale feature from Deadly Alliance, except for it doesn't last the entire round. And then she can actually repeat it for a lesser effect as the match goes on. Yeah, she's going to be a character to keep an eye out for, that's for sure. She has, for special moves, a Blood Bolt, which is kind of slow and a fast recovery full screen projectile, and then a blood splash thing that's full screen, but it tracks across the ground. The recovery on it's pretty quick compared to the bolt. She also has, I think, a parry in down back 1, which you can hold to keep it going, and it only blocks highs, so if your opponent throws out a low, I think it hits you. I think if they do an air move that hits you, grabs will break it, I think. It was really gimmicky. I couldn't really figure it out, but it seems like it just blocked high attacks, so keep that in mind. This move in particular gets replaced with a move called Blood Ritual, I believe, if you run that variant. And what Blood Ritual is basically it's a move where she channels for a second, and then from there it starts sucking the HP out of both you and the opponent. So let's say you have full HP and your opponent's been pretty low and beaten on the entire match, or they're close to critical. You can actually use the Blood Ritual in order to kill your opponent. I think that's pretty neat. It prevents people from turtling against you if you're worried about, throwing a blood bolt out and getting punished for it. You don't have to worry about that if you're full screen. You can just pop blood armor and then pop blood ritual, and then from there, kill your opponent. The blood armor can be EX'd, and I'm not sure what the EX variation does, as I wasn't able to figure it out. So I'll have to practice that and I'll get back with you guys on that one. I think that really covers it. She does have a weird special move off of down back 4, which is this weird hand of blood that comes out of the sky and hits your opponent, or it appears mid-screen and then like kind of hooks out and hits your opponent. I think it hits mid, so it crushes low. So if your opponent's ducking, it will pretty much hit them even if they're blocking low. Outside of that, though, I think that's it for Scarlet. I think that I've pretty much covered everything there is to cover. I didn't play a lot of Baraka, so I can't tell you guys anything. He felt really bad. Maybe that's just me. I know he does have a dash to clear the distance if your opponent's trying to space you. It's pretty quick, too, from what I was getting hit by. But yeah, I didn't really play a lot of Baraka. Don't hold it against me, guys. Anyway, if you guys happen to get in the online stress test, what did you guys think of it? Are you guys going to play the beta? I mean, I definitely recommend getting the beta. The online was butter smooth for the stress test. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll see you guys on there. But yeah, if you guys played the online stress test, let me know what your guys' experience was with it. I'd love to hear down below. If you guys are going to get the game as well, I wouldn't mind doing sets with viewers. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and head out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video / review of the online stress test, and I hope to see you guys, like I said, at the beta. Later.